Hey folks, we are back again. This is not a low budget review, but actually the number one watched videos on my lowly channel of 100 or so subscribers that I have are vehicle related. I'm talking about my 2008 Prius. I have two videos, one on my buddy Jose's and one on mine. And both of those videos have over 5,000 views. People are interested in information pertaining to the Generation 2 Prius, Prii for plural. And I am very fastidious when it comes to vehicle maintenance and organization. I organize my service records in a 3-ring binder from the day that I purchase it. There we go. So it's organized in my sheet protectors. And today is a special day because it is the 4-year anniversary of when I first bought my Prius. December 13th, 2017, I was a President's Club sales consultant at CarMax in Irvine, California. One of the perks of being a CarMax employee is you get to buy. A lot of people don't realize that CarMax is 3 companies in one. There's CarMax, the auto retailer, #1 used car dealership in the nation. There is CarMax Auto Finance, located in Kennesaw, Georgia, where they have their own finance company. And then the other part of CarMax is CarMax Auctions. So they only do their vehicles on the front lot for an 11-year period. It used to be 10, but I've recently heard they bumped it up to retail for 11 years. Age and mileage within that 11-year period. And the Prius, they will only retail a Prius up to like 120,000 miles because of the main battery. So as an employee, you're allowed to buy 3 cars a year off the wholesale lot. Before they go to auction, you just pay a little bit of a markup and you can buy the car outside of going through the whole hassle of buying it at their auction that they host once a week. So I had been driving a 2012 Subaru Forester prior to my 2008 Prius, and that was the worst car I ever owned. First new car that I bought, I paid $24,000 out the door for that 2012 Forester. It was a 5-speed manual, 2.5 liter, 4-cylinder boxer engine, and that car was nothing but maintenance problems. Clutch throwout bearing went out at around 62,000 miles, and the powertrain warranty was 60,000 miles. So I had to pay for a clutch and a throwout bearing 2,000 miles outside of warranty. And that was like $1,000. And the year of my Forester was very problematic since day one with oil consumption. I would burn a quart of oil every 1,200 miles, OW20 synthetic oil on that Forester. And between 2010 and 13, there was a service bulletin that particular year of engine, they skimped on the piston rings and it would get a lot of blow-by and consume oil. They replaced the engine with 162,000 miles on it. And the oil consumption problem was resolved after that. But the catalytic converter had been contaminated because of the high oil consumption, and that was in a cost. I drove a lot. I was in outside sales and retail merchandising. So that car at 182,000 miles when I traded it in, it did have an engine with only 20,000 miles on it with my oil consumption issue resolved because they replaced it under a technical bulletin as long as it was under 200K and you were the original owner. So yes, in 5 years, I had put 182,000 miles on that Subaru with my driving at the time. And at that point of me trading it into CarMax towards the purchase of my backlot Prius, which we'll get into in a minute, at that point, I needed a new catalytic converter, which was going to be California compliant. So that was going to be $1,200 at the dealer. And then my 3rd gear synchro was going out on my manual transmission, and that was going to be like $3,000. So at that point, I was just kind of like, well, with my mileage, it is what it is. So I took it into CarMax based off of all the issues, check engine light, 3rd gear slipping out. They only gave me like $2,500 for it. And in 5 years earlier, I had paid $24,000 for it. So never again, thanks to Dave Ramsey, will I be buying a brand new car. Never buy a depreciating asset and pay full price for it unless you're a millionaire, as Uncle Dave would say. So now we're getting into the Prius story. So I traded in my Prius, 2,500 trade equity towards the purchase of a one owner 2008. The Prius that I got, and you've seen it on my other video, it's super white. It was made in July of 2007 as a 2008 model, and it was purchased at Tustin Toyota in Orange County, California in April of 2008. And luckily enough, it came with an original window sticker. So the 2008 delivered at the Port of Long Beach from Japan. It had a sticker price of $28,560 when it was new. And it also, that was after a $2,000 discount. It was stickered at $30,560. So it is considered trim level 4. So it has leather interior, nav, and a bunch of other options, which I get into in another video. That's not important. So $28,560 is what it MSRP'd for. And then someone traded it into CarMax in December of 17, where I found it on the back lot. And I ended up buying it at the CarMax wholesale price of $4,832. And at that point in time, it had 125,000 miles on it. But it was very clean, and it had 19 service bulletins in the Carfax report, one owner vehicle. They'd had done everything at the dealer. So now we're going to go cost of ownership in 4 years for the Prius, year by year. And then we'll kind of divide it all up and see what the average is. So year number 1, I bought the car at 125,000 miles. I took it to my mechanic in the city of Orange, a place called Orange Independent Auto Repair. And I didn't have any record of 100,000 mile service, so I went ahead and did that. Transmission flush, spark plugs, coolant flush, and that brought the total up to $322 in 2018. That was the big service. The rest was just wipers and miscellaneous oil changes. So the first year, January of 2018, is when I did my first service, having bought it in late 2017. 2018, my total service of the whole year was $489. Year number 2, 2019, the services performed were mostly just oil changes, and at the time I was still working at CarMax, so I can get everything there for cut rate. $187.50 was my maintenance for 2019. Purely oil changes, no other major service items. Now we're moving into 2020, the year of the COVID pandemic. But I was doing another job again. I'd been back into outside sales versus just going from A to B every day. That brought some bigger items as we're moving up into the mid 150,000 mile range. The big ticket was $592.53. That was the big ticket item for 2020, and that was 4 new Bridgestone tires, balanced in a line, and my TPMS sensors needed to be replaced. $592.53. The other big ticket item was I did front brakes and rotors. I bought OEM parts, did it myself, $274.45. So my overall total maintenance for 2020 was $989. Oil changes, brakes, tires, and whatnot. 2021, the current year. So we're year number 4 of ownership. This is when things start to add up. My car was getting close to 200,000. And now at this present moment, I'm right around 211,000 miles compared to the 125 when I bought it 4 years ago. So mostly oil changes and regular maintenance, but there's a few big ticket items that I took to a professional mechanic if I didn't want to do it myself. I did my rear brake, drums and turned and pads and whatnot, coolant system, transmission, and then I ended up doing the spark plugs myself. But that service for brakes, transmission flush, and coolant flush at a reliable Toyota mechanic, Specialized Auto, that I go to in Modesto, was $648.55. So that was one of the big ones. And remember, in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, I replaced the tires. I never rotated them or aired them up, and they got horribly uneven wear, and I ended up having to replace all 4 tires again, minus the TPMS sensors. That came out to $342. So I had to replace my tires a year later. So rotate your tires and air them up so they get even wear. And I hit a curb, which started the whole thing of me needing to get a new tire because I damaged the sidewall. Besides the point, the other big one was I needed a new 12-volt battery that was 250/71. And the other thing that was a big ticket item that I just did, which was like annoying, I replaced the HID headlamps, and I just had my mechanic do it because I thought maybe I needed ballast, but I had put in cheap Chinese aftermarket ones in there and they did not last. So he put OEM bulbs in there, and they are $150 a piece. Plus he did the installation fee, which was like a couple of bucks. So that was $346. So 4-year total cost of ownership for the Prius. Bear with me here. I'm looking through my notes. The total cost of ownership for 4 years of maintenance was $3,570. If you average that out over a 4-year period, it was about $876 a year to maintain this Prius. Most of those just being oil changes with a few major service items, but nothing ordinary. If you would have done it yourself, you would have saved a lot of money. I was averaging 21,500 miles a year over the course of those 4 years. So if you're driving closer to 10 to 12, I suspect that your maintenance would have been cut in half. But that being said, $3,507 in maintenance over the course of 4 years, $876 a year on average, with $21,500 miles a year average. And that was a $4,800 Prius, folks. The crazy thing is, I'm seeing 200,000 mile clean Priuses still being listed for anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. As far as I know, I still have the original hybrid battery on mine. I'm still averaging between 42 and 45 miles per gallon. Not really consuming any oil between a 5,000 mile oil change regimen. The big ticket item that is going to need to be addressed soon in this car is my ABS actuator. That will cost a couple of grand. I can hear it cycling every 5 to 15 seconds, and my ABS and VCS light has come on, but I tap the brake and it goes off. There's no codes for it, and I was advised by my mechanic to just keep driving it until it totally goes out, which then your car goes into like a limp mode and you'll have to get it towed in and replaced. But I'm just kind of like 211,000 miles. Half the value of the car is tied up in this ABS actuator pump. My mechanic assures me that with the way I've been maintaining it, it'll go 400,000, which I believe it with the way it's driving. The other thing that's kind of on the back of my mind is the battery is a 2007 made battery, as far as I know, the main hybrid battery. So that might be another big item. At this point, it's still keeping full bars, but they're like a light switch. Two of my friends, their batteries just went off when one day it was fine, and the next day they totally lost power and the red triangle of death came on. So overall, I'm very happy with this vehicle. With the amount of money that I drive, it's mostly the oil changes that are kind of escalating the price. If I change my oil so much per year, what is it? No, 4 times a year. So maybe it, tires, brakes, but the brakes on the Prius are like a 100,000 mile thing. So like I've done a lot of big ticket items, but now I won't have to do it again for a while. And I'm really hoping that 2022 will be kind of closer to what it was in 2019, where I just had oil changes and it was like less than 200 in maintenance for the whole year, because the 2021 killed me. 2021 was $1,842 in maintenance. That was my highest maintenance. As I approached 200,000, I did a lot of different things, and mostly it was like below 500. So there you go, folks. I hope this has been informative and not just rambling, and then maybe you can do a cost analysis on your particular vehicle and comment down below. And I will put in the description the other 2 Prius videos where I have some Gen 2 Prius talk for you guys. Until next time, we'll see you then.